Even though I may be innocent, I become a talking head for people who are not. I was just gullible and putting myself in the hands of criminals. That does keep me innocent, but it doesn't keep my hands clean. You're not going to see me doing things the way you want me to. It's never going to happen. I'm going to do things my way. I have my own way of doing things, and no one's going to stop me from doing it. You might be able to frame me and put me in jail. You do whatever the hell you want, but all it does is exposes your ways. That's what Jesus did. Even if I spend time behind bars for being framed, and it is framing, I will have learned a lot of lessons from this.
Alright, so after being called out for his plagiarism of other people's music and his subject matter for younger audiences, James switched purely to gameplay videos with no commentary, and became less involved with Twitter over the month of August. But that couldn't stop him from making one last Periscope stand, which lasted about 9 days, and was intense to say the least. From August 10th to 19th, James streamed over a total of 24 hours, a whole day's worth in just over a week, 5 of those hours being in just one day. He surprisingly still has all these videos up on his Periscope, which is not usually a James Saroka move. Usually when James leaves the social media platform, he wipes everything before he comes back a couple of months later just under a slightly different username. So for instance, he'll just add an extra underscore or change that underscore to a dot, or put, an A in the middle of his name. You can break down these slight variations in username down to sagas. In this video, we'll be looking at the James _Saroka Periscope Saga. So since ditching Periscope for Instagram now, which I'll cover in my next video, the James.Saroka Instagram Saga, I really like this saga idea. Anyway, since he's left, he's kept everything relatively the same here, at least from what I can remember. His bio reads, media personality, life got hacked, vlogger with over 1 million views on me. New, made for kids gaming channel. He's still advertising that it's made for kids. He really wants those kids' views for some reason. YouTube/Instagram, James Saroka. So not too much there. I like how he says he's got his life hacked and how he has over 1 million views on him. Not from him, but on him. Like that Repsion shit. He's archived 12 videos here, totaling, as I said before, 24 hours of word salad. Starting with first Twitter Live in a while. Now, I don't want to nitpick here, but I'm gonna. Why is he calling it Twitter Live? No one calls Periscope Twitter Live. He's been on it for 5 years now. No one calls it that. Is it just to appear like he's new to the platform, which he likes doing, by the way? It just seems weird. Anyways, nitpicking over, that's the other one I get. So the first stream he starts off to say that narcissists were trying to bait Jim into attacking him because he came across as confident, saying that these so-called narcissists thought that Jim was talking directly to them the whole time, triggering them into trying to break him and subconsciously convincing him to scam people, which makes everything these narcissists' fault. Not his fault, the narcissists, which Jim never names, by the way. You think if all these people caused that much drama to him, he would be able to name at least a few of them. But then you can go look at their interactions with James and see a more clear version of what happened other than the muddied version that James is trying to get across here.
Narcissists thought that I was baiting them to try and break me by calling myself unbreakable, because to them, they're the center of the universe. And so whenever I speak to my audience, I must be speaking directly to them as they come to understand these illnesses and the way they work. And a lot of you thought I was trying to trick someone. And you didn't see that I was the one that was already tricked by the time I hit that screen. There might be more coming for me, but I will always, my entire life, move just quick enough to keep ahead of the drama.
I also find it funny that he says he manages to stay one step ahead of the drama. James, if it weren't for the drama, you wouldn't have a name on the internet, son. James is neck deep in drama, constantly. Then he switches his stance on the baiting thing by saying that the narcissists were trying to bait him into being narcissistic. This one's really word salady.
Just know that if you think you're smart enough to avoid being baited into drama and narcissism and those things, it's the moment we think we're smart enough not to, we officially are becoming that person. And so I got baited in, and I never should have taken the bait.
Then he tries to spin this psychotic doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results BS into him being committed to his cause and not giving up, and that he's basically a representation of America as a whole ass country. Jim's like that kid who can only get to a certain level in the game, and instead of figuring out how to get past the level, he just keeps restarting the game, thinking that if he does something different along the way, he's gonna get to a different place, when really you just need to learn how to overcome that shit. I don't know if any of you have had to deal with people like that. In Canada, it seems to be like, what, if you're 1 in 5.
I keep coming back to people who can't grasp that level of commitment, that level of discipline, and that level of love. We'll see that as an addiction or a problem or a nuisance. This is commitment. This is a level of dedication that our country has lost, and I think we're finding our way back. And that's a big reason I've gotten a lot of hope.
I will definitely say that James is an addiction to social media. And like I said before the clip, he keeps doing the same things expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity. So Jim is indirectly addicted to insanity, which I find very entertaining. Then he goes on to try to compare his audience to bad parents who discipline their child when acting out. Now, depending on how you discipline your child, I'd say that makes you a good parent. As long as you're not beating your kid. Kids need boundaries set at a young age. Something that obviously wasn't instilled into Jim, as becomes apparent in the next clip.
And when I didn't do what you wanted, like typical bad parents. You asserted control over my life. I don't think our relationships were appropriate. And so it went very sour very quickly because neither one of us were getting what we wanted. And we both had expectations on how it was supposed to go.
So he acknowledges that some of the relationships he's had when first starting social media were inappropriate, to say the least, but that's for another video. And when people try to set boundaries with you, you resort to comparing them to bad parents because you weren't getting what you wanted. And these are your own words, Jim. He then admits that he's a narcissist. So far it's gone from narcissists thinking James is baiting them to narcissist baiting Jim to what do you know, Jim was the narcissist all along. I would hate to live inside James's brain. Like, I don't know what the fuck goes on in there, but it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I don't even know if he knows what he's saying.
And I know that may have made me narcissistic, but that doesn't make me a bad person. When someone is narcissistic, that person is innocent. I know that's hard to believe, but it's called narcissistic personality disorder for a reason. Similar to bipolar, it's a disease and the person doesn't know they have it. I did not know I was a narcissist. And the only way you're ever going to believe me again is if you forgive me. The way that you saw me treat Caitlin, we often repeat the behaviors that we have learned through experience. I wasn't born a monster, but the choices we do make in our lives help to create who we are.
So he's basically just trying to pass off everything he's ever done onto something that he classifies as a disease brought on by poor choices and environment. So he's admitting, yeah guys, I made some dumbass choices which put me in a bad environment, which gave me this disease, it's actually a disorder, which made me a narcissist. But it's not my fault. It's always either his parents' fault, the church's fault, or society's fault. Hell, sometimes it's like processed food and porn's fault. Or Josh, a man who walked miles to work every day to pay off Jim's fucking bills and his debt. Yet somehow he's at fault for Jim beating his girlfriend. Do you see a trend here? These will all be covered eventually, but fuck man, I'm sick of him blaming everything on everyone else. It's never like his fault for his own actions. He then goes on to imply that he can only be so honest with his audience because there's some bad people after him and want to make him a talking head for evil.
I will also continue to be as honest with you as I am permitted to be. Because whether you like it or not, there are people out there trying to make sure that I cannot honestly communicate with you. And it's not just about discrediting me, it's about protecting themselves. And these are the parts of the system and parts of the industry that a lot of very manipulative and controlling people don't want you to know about. They want you to just jump on in, and then they go in and they scoop you up, and you become a talking head. And all the crazy talk and the 666s and all the other stuff, it needs to go away because people are acting terroristically, irrationally, and psychotically. I was almost made into a talking head, but I'm a lot stronger than any of you think I am, and I will not be submitting to that, even if it costs me my life. I'm serious about that.
Yes, I'm sure the Illuminati has Jim on their most wanted list. Some problematic, homophobic white male who can't break 100 concurrent viewers is going to be the vessel of their subliminal messaging to infect the youth's minds. That's why he can't be honest. That's had nothing to do with legal ramifications or court cases. It's the Illuminati, guys. Nothing to do with the fact that Jim's a compulsive liar. It's the Illuminati. Then he goes on to claim that he doesn't want to be back on social media, but that God is telling him to do it. For reasons he doesn't fully articulate or elaborate on.
If you haven't noticed, no one else is stepping up to the plate, okay? So having me is better than having nobody. I don't even want to do it anymore, okay? Not really, but I see God calling me to that responsibility, to this one. And some of you may have brainwashed me to think that I'm doing it selfishly, but you guys were willing to convince me to forget about my own integrity and think that I was wrong about who I am, just to convince yourself that I wasn't who I said I was.
So Jim says that everyone brainwashed him into thinking that he wasn't the person he presented himself to be. Probably because he wasn't the person he presented himself to be. And that we're trying to take his integrity away. Not integrity, integrity. I don't see how God comes into the equation here at all. Like, did he reach out to him in the middle of the night? Did he get did he dream? Did he have a dream that God spoke to him? Did some kind of miracle happen where he was like, this is a sign from God that I need to get back on fucking Periscope? Okay, so this is one of my favorite clips because he actually admits that the people coming after him are not criminals after calling us slutty criminals on multiple occasions, which I wear as a badge of honor, which he also does many times after admitting here that none of us are criminals. So I find it pretty funny, him saying this and then 24 hours later basically calling everyone criminals again.
Most of us are not criminals, me included. I'm sorry for telling you that your socially inappropriate behavior was criminal. That is socialist and un-American. So I'm sorry. You were just mean, not criminal.
So after admitting no one's a criminal, he then goes on to say that the people coming after him know that they're wrong, but just keep doing it because they want the views from him.
I am still dealing with some really bad people who are continuing to seek to bury me, to pretend as though they're not guilty, because they don't want to admit that they jumped the gun accusing me of what they have, knowing it's not true, now knowing, which I want to believe that they didn't know when it started. I know that you do now. You're afraid to put it down because you're getting views for it. You don't want to put it down because you so badly want to believe you're right, and you're too afraid of me to find out that I am the man I told you I am. I needed more time. In essence, in some ways, you have given it to me because you haven't taken me down, and you know you could.
Now, we could be talking about a number of people here. Conger, Chris, Repsion, fuck even me. But none of us are even a little scared of Jim. And I find it interesting how he even admits he could be taken down for his actions. Like, you know we could take you down, but you don't take me down because you want me around for views. Like, Jim, if you went to jail tomorrow, that would free me up so much to do so many more things. I could actually start fucking documenting your shit from when you first started social media and go from there. I wouldn't have to worry about keeping up with your fucking crazy streams. Please go to jail. Like, it would help me out a lot. I'd be able to get so much done. He then states again how he is the narcissist and that he's scared to look at his comments before really going off the deep end and shifting the blame to anyone and everyone who was around him at the time of him making these poor decisions in his life.
I'm just scared to look at the comments because I have a lot of fear too. And that's something you don't understand about narcissists, if you're not one, is that narcissists are scared and they're cowards. I lived with a pedophile while my business was being manipulated by a scammer and I was being brainwashed by an abuser. Whether you want to call it God, the universe, or Twitter, somebody has stepped out of the wilderness for me.
So he was saying that he's living with a pedophile, Josh, which is false. Being gay and not feeling comfortable enough to disclose that with you because you do weird shit like strip naked when you get angry does not make you a pedophile. But James is too much of a homophobe to realize this. He thinks that since Josh didn't tell him up front that he was gay, that he was hiding it because he likes children or some fucking shit. Which, like, what? When Jim found out that Josh was gay, it really threw him for a loop for some reason, and then he started accusing him of being a pedophile. If that's not homophobic, like, I don't know what is. He then claims that his business, being Periscope, I don't know anyone who would call their streaming a business. It's your job maybe, but you didn't build this platform. Just make content on it. But anyways, he claims his business was being manipulated by a scammer, who I'm guessing he's referring to as Hans, a Russian DJ who Jimmy taught to subbot, and then when he got called out for it, basically blamed him for doing all the subbotting. And finally being brainwashed by an abuser, which is apparently Kate, his girlfriend slash wife. I don't think he's calling her his wife anymore, but he was around this time, which is really sad because there's a lot of video evidence proving the exact opposite, actually. So if 2 out of 3 things is projection of his own shitty behavior, what do you think the third one is? Kate doesn't abuse him, he abuses Kate, and Hans didn't subbot, Jimmy did. So him calling Josh a pedo? Josh wasn't sending pictures like this to kids. So chew on that for a bit. He then tries to say that the people who advised the 16-year-old to go after him legally for stealing his music were scammers and criminals themselves.
Those people out there who have been trying to frame me are being exposed by manipulating a 16-year-old boy into suing me over a song that it doesn't even work that way. I didn't want to accept that a lot of you out there are willing to be complicit with criminals and pedophiles. I'm seeing that's how it is. And when I saw that online, my brain officially burst.
It does work that way. If you take someone else's intellectual property and pass it off as your own, that's theft. And you can take legal action against it. This is also the same kid that Jim was trying to convince he stole music from. So Jim was basically saying like, no, you stole music from me, even though he didn't. He was basically trying to gaslight him into dropping the case. Fuck you, James. After that, he pretty much like goes through all his previous points, talking in circles and not really elaborating on anything or answering questions, just reading whatever fluff he wants to. So that pretty much wraps up his first stream back. So to summarize, Jim comes back under a slightly different handle and hopes people aren't familiar enough with the situation to hear him kind of try to gain sympathy and atone for his previous actions and behavior, which to someone who isn't aware of Jim's antics would probably work, because if there's one thing Jim is good at, is pretending that he's actually being honest and putting that fake charisma on to make people feel bad for him. That so many people are critical of him. Even a comment on my last video, someone asked like, why am I cyberbullying? I'm not cyberbullying. Me actually taking the time to listen to all his fucking crazy shit is not cyberbullying, dog. I mean, you listen to it and tell me what you think. Now, this may have worked if he had a shred of talent and put any of this into his content, because some people can separate the person from the art, but if you don't make any art, then there's nothing really to separate. If your content is yourself and yourself is a piece of shit, then no one is going to want to watch you. All we're left is with some very easy to prove contradictions and nothing really of value. And wow, this video is already too long. So what I think I'm going to do is break this saga down into parts, so it's not like 3 to 5 hours long. I think that like 4 or 5 parts should do. I'll try to keep it down to 4, but there's a lot to go over. I also know that I said that I would have this video out like a couple days after my last video, and it took about a week, so I am sorry about that. I want to get all these out pretty much right after each other so I can move on from Jim shit. I have other shit I want to do than just like go over all this gym content. But I'm gonna get all these parts out as fast as I can. Maybe I'll put some stuff in between so it's not just fucking till the channel doesn't turn into just gym. But since like Crow's getting married, go show him some love. I have some extra time to do that, so maybe I don't know what I'm saying. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Jimmy shit, like you can always follow me on Twitter and Periscope. Special shout out to Jess for Makeup and Conspiracies. Follow her on Twitter and sub to her YouTube channel. I'm super excited for the content she's gonna put out because I love me some conspiracy theories. And Jess is dope shit. Go check out my other Patreons in the links below as well. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you want behind the scenes / sneak peek content, you can go sub on Patreon for $1. Go buy some merch too because it's there. Thanks to everyone who made it to the end here. I love you all and I'll see you in a couple days hopefully. Bleh.